Alfred Hitchcock is one of the most influential filmmakers. He started his career in 1922 with the comedy Number 13, then going on to a 50-plus year career creating 52 films. Hitchcock was dubbed the master of suspense. He would have a three-step way in doing suspense. First, he would plant a secret from the other characters. He would only let the audience and the character hiding the secret know. After he establishes the secret, he then creates a close call, where the character almost gets caught. The audience feels empathy for the character and it creates suspense. Hitchcock would use bomb theory, wherein two characters are having a normal conversation and there is a bomb under the table, making the audience not care about the small talk and prompts them to rush for the bomb under the table. Finally, the third step, he has a surprise twist, finding and defusing the bomb and restoring some sort of peace. Hitchcock saying, "One of foul things in all suspense is not having a mind that is confused. Otherwise the audience will not emote." Hitchcock would take down suspense as he believed as he did not do that, the audience would do it themselves. You can always tell you're watching a Hitchcock classic with his beautiful score, using classical music to increase suspense on scenes. He knew how powerful a score could be, as it displays emotions in ways that dialogue and imagery cannot. But he would not always use music as it would get in the way and could take the viewer away from the reality of the film, putting him in fantasy. Hitchcock would amplify the sound effects, driving the story, giving key parts. Hitchcock always had beautiful lighting in his films, coming from the black and white era to colour. He knew how to use light to drive a story, like using the light in the poison milk. He uses lights in ways the audience does not need any sound and can tell what is happening from just a story. In Rear Window, when James is attacked, he uses the camera to shed light on his attacker so that the audience can see who it is, using the light in the shadow to add suspense, making the audience heart rate. Hitchcock had a very noticeable camera work, using a Steadicam as that's all they had back then, and he made quite skillful use of what he could do. He is notorious for using close-ups and quick edits to create suspense and to show the audience what the characters are feeling. Doing this in Rear Window went from James's emotions to cut into what he's looking at, making us feel more aligned with James. He amazingly did Rope, where he told a story where it feels like a single take. For the editing, he did this through long shots and it makes everything feel like it's happening right then. Objects are especially important to Hitchcock. A character always has a focus or desire onto an object. In Psycho, the desire and the object is the money, and this is where the original story of the film lies, and we take a very dark turn. Hitchcock was able to shoot and position objects in a way that could make them important or could make them look sinister, foreshadowing what will happen, like the poison wine glasses. Hitchcock did not use a lot of dialogue in his films. This helped them make them a lot more suspenseful. Coming from the silent film era, he's always been able to tell a delightful story even with no spoken words. Words can take away from the film and can explain too much, taking away from the mystery. His lack of dialogue relied on the camera work, showing their emotions to fill in the words, quoting, "When we tell a story in cinema, we should resort to dialogue only when it is important to do so otherwise." Hitchcock had such a strong class. This would help him make those stories. From Anthony Perkins transforming from a sweet pure boy to a twisted monster in just a few seconds, leaving the audience chilled through his performance. But in having such a strong cast, he was not afraid to kill them off early, like killing Jeanette Lee early in Psycho. This was a shocker as she was such a well-renowned star back in her time. Characters take on a role, making them feel realistic and like characters we have in our everyday lives. Hitchcock used a MacGuffin to drive his stories, where an object that is of no importance to the audience but to the characters drives the story. It usually fades in the third act, and the story will shift onto something else. The money in Psycho is a prime example of it. After she is murdered, the money holds no relevance. Hitchcock would make his MacGuffin as dull and simple as possible, as to not overload the viewer's brain or to confuse them onto irrelevant things. But Hitchcock had popularized the term MacGuffin. He had first used this in his early work, 39 Steps. Hitchcock's scenes had excellent blocking in them, from having a man into the shadows of his back to the camera, telling us he's probably bad news. Hitchcock can show the importance of characters or objects with his blocking. He's able to make them the center of attention in crowded spaces. Hitchcock will start off an establishing shot where the camera will follow or track a character, and then move to a close-up. His blocking can make anything suspenseful, from Marion getting killed in the shower by a mysterious person to a man just staring at a tennis match, not watching the game like the other characters. Even though some of Alfred Hitchcock's films are black and white, his mise-en-scene makes them burst with colour. He would also use the mise-en-scene to foreshadow parts of the story, from the black smoke coming to a nice peaceful town, indicating that something bad is going to happen. Alfred would make his mise-en-scenes realistic to connect to the audience and to scare them more, as it fears their lives. James looking through the window shows us how normal everyone else is, their clothes and nice houses, and into the horror, and when we find out the salesperson is a murderer.